In this video, we'll see how to work with compound interest. So we're told that Clara invests $50 with 4% compound interest for 3 years. And we're then asked how much money will her initial $50 turn into by the end of these 3 years. So the idea here is that with compound interest, we calculate interest on the amount of money we have at the end of each year. So what we'll do here is, to begin with, we'll calculate how much money Clara would have at the end of the first year. So I'm just going to write this. At end of year 1. So since we're told that the interest rate is 4%, by the end of the first year, her $50 will be increased by 4%, which we know we can calculate by writing 50 times 1 plus 0.04, which is 4%. That's equal to 50 times 1.04. And now with your calculator, if you calculate this, you should find 52. So by the end of the first year, Clara has $52. Now for the second year, we can carry on in the same way and calculate what she has at end of second year, or end of year 2. So we're going to do exactly the same calculation, but this time, instead of using the initial amount, which was $50, we're going to use the amount she had at the end of the first year. So that's $52. In other words, we're now adding interest onto how much she has after the first year has gone by. So this will lead us to 52 times 1 plus 0.04 again, which leads us to 52 times 1.04. And once again, using our calculators, we find 54.08. So at the end of the second year, Clara has $54.08. Finally, we're going to calculate how much she has at the end of the third year. And in a similar way as we just did, this time we're going to use how much money she had at the end of the first 2 years, which was 54.08. And we're going to add 4% to that. And we go ahead and write, at end of year 3, she'll have 54.08 times 1 plus 0.04, so we're adding 4%, which is equal to 54.08 times 1.04. And once again, of course, using our calculators, we find 56.2432. Now, since in this case we're dealing with dollars, these last 2 decimal places here don't really mean anything, so we're going to round this number. Since we have 2432, when we round that to 2 decimal places, this will be equal to 56.24. And so finally we can say that at end of 3 years, we'll have $56.24. Now, a faster way to get this result is to use the formula. If we invest an initial amount A with a rate, say R%, for n years, then when we are working with compound interest, we can calculate how much this amount A will turn into after n years by using this formula. A, and I can say A final, is equal to A, which is the initial amount we invested, times 1 plus R to the power of n. Now let's see how this formula works, and I'll just box that actually. We'll start by boxing this, and let's see how this formula works with the example we just saw. We saw that Clara invested $50, so our initial amount A would be equal to 50. We were told that the interest rate was 4%, so R is equal to 4%, which we should write as a decimal as being equal to 0.04. And we're told that she invests this for 3 years, so N is equal to 3. So using this formula, we can calculate how much you would have after 3 years directly, and say that A final, so that means final after the 3 years, would be equal to 50 times 1 plus 0.04 to the power of 3. This leads us to 50 times 1.04 to the power of 3. And if you go ahead with your calculators to calculate that, you'll find that that's equal to 56.2432, which is exactly what we had previously. And so once again, rounding this to 2 decimal places, because we're dealing with a currency, dollars, we can say that the A final, or the final amount she has, is $56.24. And we're done.